Hello, welcome to episode 11 of the Empowered Hearts podcast. Today we are going to be talking about, are you an introvert or are you actually just clairsentient? And what does that mean?
Yeah.
So I can safely say that I am an introvert and clairsentient for sure.
Yep. Me too.
So what does it mean to be an introvert? You know, people use this word often and people are like, oh, but you're like outgoing and you're this and
Mhm.
you have a big personality. And I'm like, yeah, but also I gain my energy by being alone,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So I think, so extroverts are people that literally like feed and like get their life force off of being in crowds. And
Yep.
often, like introverts are the complete opposite. And
Mhm.
we often think, well, like, I mean, this has happened to me. I'm often like, well, why can't I go out all the time? No,
Mhm.
it literally drains my energy to go out.
Mhm. Yeah. My friend sent me a TikTok about this a little while ago because I always find that I have to like justify it and explain to
Right.
people because they're like, oh, you need to get out, you need to, see people and interact. And I'm like, listen, sometimes, yes, I agree, but not most of the time. Sometimes no. And it just depends. And so my friend sent me this video about like having a pocket full of coins. So an introvert would start with like 10 coins in the morning. And
Mhm.
every time they go to do something, like let's say it's like a Zoom meeting or they go grocery shopping or they're doing something, they're taking coins out of their pocket,
Mhm.
right? It's like taking from your energy. Whereas an extrovert, when they go out and they see people or do a Zoom meeting, they're putting coins in their pocket. So it's
Yeah,
like before you,
that is fascinating. I love that.
right?
The next
So
time
then
someone's like, go out, I'm gonna be like, no, I've got no more coins.
I have no more coins. So this is really good because you can, when somebody asks you to do something, if you can kind of like look at your day and be like, well, how many coins do I have left? Like, is this going to be, you know, worth it for me?
Right.
Or am I at empty right now?
It's funny, like even if I go out the day, like let's say I went out yesterday, like there
Yeah.
would be no way in hell today I'd be
Yes.
out having an event or doing something. But
Yeah.
it's so funny. It's like this has gotten worse the older I've gotten.
Hmm.
So, or has it? And I
Is it
just,
your age? I think it's probably opening your gifts and like your energy and like get like more light in the body, right? Like the more that you're like in tuned.
right. Well,
Yeah.
right. That's why I think you said like, are you, like Crystal and I had this conversation when we were talking about topics, and she was like,
Yeah.
well, are you an introvert or are you clairsentient? And I was like, well, what does that have to do with each other? And then
Mhm.
why don't you explain to me like what you
Sure. I feel like anyone who is an introvert is probably clairsentient.
Hmm.
Clairsentience is the ability to feel other people's energy, whether you realize it or not. So, for example, let's say you are feeling so good, like you're lit up, you've had a great morning, everything's good. Then you go to the grocery store and instantly your energy is shifted.
Hmm.
Maybe you feel a little drained. Maybe you feel a little sad. Maybe you're just, feeling different than you were before. This is a really good indicator that you have crossed paths with somebody else who has that kind of energy going on and you have embodied it or you felt it in your body. So clairsentience and it can get a little bit more intense. Like I, for one, have like if it was a scale 10 out of 10, I would be a 10 clairsentient for sure. Because I will feel other people's emotions. If they have physical pain in their body or illness, I will adopt those symptoms.
I know.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the basis of a clairsentient.
When my dad and I were in Spain last week, we went to the zoo or the zoo essentially. They
Mhm.
have this like it's called the bio park there. And in order to get to the park, you have to go over this huge bridge, and he has got like a severe fear of heights. And
Mhm.
as he's walking, I'm like, "Are you okay?" And I got like whoosh, like this hit of panic and anxiety, and I could literally feel his fear.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's I am definitely 110% a clairsentient. I would say that's one of my biggest gifts
Mhm.
of the
Yeah.
clairs. That and clair the what's when you know
Cognizant.
or cognizance, yes. So, but yeah, like I can feel what's going on with other people, and
Mhm.
it's for a very, very large portion of my life. And even still today, I sometimes am, for a very large portion of my life, I was like, not sure what was going on half the time. I'm like,
Mhm.
why am I always upset
Yeah.
or this or feeling this or this? And, and through many years of meditating and working on this, I've understood that it's just what does my own energy feel like
Yeah.
versus when it's somebody else's.
Yeah.
But it can still hit me out of nowhere where I'm like, is this mine?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Where you're like, well, could it be mine? Because like if you're thinking about something and then you get a feeling but like it's actually not yours a lot
Yeah.
of the times, right? And yeah, so like the introvert experiences life very similarly. Now, whether they have like it's a really good point. Like they it sounds like they do have a lot in common. Like
Yeah.
this point of yours really does sound like they do have a lot in common because I am like, here are my 10 coins. Like hopefully you start out with 10 coins,
Yeah. Sometimes
right?
you don't. That's a really good point.
Right? So like
Yeah.
being in like I find being an introvert, I always say I'm an introvert with a big personality. So like
Yep.
I find being an introvert, sometimes I don't even start out with 10 coins. Sometimes I
Yeah.
have like 5 coins. And so then going
Mhm.
to the grocery store is,
Takes like 15 coins, so you're in the negative.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot go out tonight. And people are like, what? You didn't do anything. I'm like, you don't understand. Like I started
Yeah.
out with 5 coins. That's such a good analogy.
Like I love my mom to death. She is wonderful and she is always like pure hearted. And she says to me, I was just kind of explaining, like I was venting to her about being a single mom and like working full time and all the things. And she goes, what I think you really need to do is get out and see people. I'm like, Mom, I talk to people all day long. Okay. That's my job. I said, I see people every time I go to town. I go to the grocery store. I have deep conversations. I see my kids 24/7. I'm like, the last thing that I need to do is get out. I said, what I need is alone time. I need time. Like, I need a break. Like, I need a vacation where I can just like be unplugged,
Yeah.
you know, nobody's around. Just let me re energize, refuel. But she's an extrovert. So, yeah.
Often have been found myself very envious of an
Mm.
extrovert,
Mhm.
where I'm like, oh, it'd be like so wonderful to need not like need but like feed off of other people's energy or
Yeah.
mix, but I wonder what it feels like when they're alone. Like there must be they must be very
Mm.
lonely because
They
I
don't like it.
no, they don't like it. I feel anything but lonely. I mean, when I'm alone, right? Like
Yep.
yes, we all have lonely bouts, but when I'm like in my introvert hermit
Mhm.
mode, I am like reading a book, watching
Mhm.
TV, on a
Mhm.
hike with my dog,
Mhm.
and I am like in my
Happy.
I am in heaven. There is
Yeah.
no pulling
Yeah.
or needing or wanting or this or that. It's just great. But
Mhm.
imagine what it would feel like maybe for extroverts when the feeling we get when we're around too many people, they get when they're alone.
Oh, for sure. Like, and you know what? There is a difference, in my opinion, between being alone and feeling lonely, because I know you and I experience feeling lonely sometimes,
Yeah.
but we still want our alone time.
Right. It's essential.
It's so true. But yeah, I agree with you because again, like I can use my mom for example. She doesn't like to be alone. Like it makes her feel like low, like sad but it makes sense because they
Yeah.
like I don't want to say feed off other people's energies because that's not accurate, but they get elevated around other people.
Well, I think like they fill up their cup with
Yeah.
other people. Like, I don't
Yes.
know if it's like they're pulling from other people or it's just by being around other people, it gives them life force.
Yeah.
And it,
Absolutely.
for us, it drains us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's so fascinating. Yes, like my other good friend, she is an extrovert and when she spends too much time alone, she's like, I need to get out of the house right now. I'm like, why? Why? Like,
Yep.
she's like, don't you need to get out of the house? I'm like, no, I'm good. I went for a walk. What do you mean, do I need to get out of the house?
Exactly. I'm good for a couple days now. Um, I was in a relationship with an extrovert.
So was I.
And at the time, I didn't understand his need to always want to be social, especially like after you've had an entire week full of people, which I would have. Um, I was like, no. And he's like, yes, like we need to go out. And it was challenging, but like I will agree that sometimes, we just don't feel like doing it. But once you do it, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well then you know what? This is pretty good.
Yeah.
We can like talk ourselves out of anything, truly.
Yes.
Um, and we just found like a balance. You just have to.
I remember with my ex, they had like a huge family. Okay. And I do not have a big family. So I am an introvert, but I'm also an only child.
Yep.
I've not like, I've just grown up being like alone. Like it's just how I've just had to figure it out. And it was like Easter and we are doing this and this and this. And I am literally on like, they're like having drinks and
Hmm.
talking. And I'm like in the basement on the couch sleeping. Like
Yep.
at Easter dinner. Like I'm like, I am sick. Like I literally cannot. And there would be so many fights. And I didn't, at that point in my life, I didn't
Yep.
understand
Yep.
what was going on. But now I'm just like, I am an introvert. When I
Yep.
finally like figured it out, I'm like, okay, this makes so much sense.
Hmm.
I'm introvert and I'm clairsentient and there's too many people and we've been camping all weekend and like now we're going to Easter or whatever and there's
Hmm.
too many people and I'm going to bed. Like literally I'm on the couch.
It's so interesting because I love people. Like, I love having conversations and deep interactions with people. Like, I could do it all day long. And I do it all day long on my phone,
Right.
like with work, with my friends, whatever it is, that lights me up. But it's like when I'm like in public or like in person, that's where I get trained.
I think it's in intentional interactions.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Like when I had my day job, it was beautiful in my setup because I was by myself. And I was like, this is great. Like I'm just by myself. But then like when I had to go out and do lunches or something, that was like crossing my threshold for what I could handle. Like being
Mm-hmm.
tired. I feel like if you're personally for me, I feel like if you're tired and then have to interact, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
But if it's intentional interactions with people that you enjoy spending time with, that is easier. And also if it's people that respect boundaries.
Hmm. I was gonna say, I think people who are introverted are gonna have very strong boundaries, or they're gonna have to learn how to put strong boundaries in place. Yeah,
Absolutely. You need your strong boundaries. That's a huge
yeah,
one. Being able
yeah.
to say no.
Yes, being able to say no and knowing when a yes is a yes, and you're not saying yes to please the other person, even though you're feeling depleted. Like there's that whole side of things too, right? Like being the people pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we can feel guilty for saying no. Like, it's like, what is wrong with me? Like, why don't I ever want to, like, go do something fun? Like, that's sometimes what it feels like, but it's like, that's not truth.
Well, I think we have a different idea of what fun is,
Yeah.
right? I have like a few sides to me. So I am a Gemini rising in astrology. So I have like two sides to me. I am very much an introvert, but then I have this like big personality that also is like a bit wild. Being an introvert, I also do like to go to music festivals, which
Mm,
is the most bizarre opposite, right? But
hmm.
like if I'm going to the music festival, like I can't be going out after. Like then I need
Yeah.
to go for like a week.
I'm the same. Music, I can do concerts. Concerts to me are wonderful.
Yeah.
Going to the mall,
Oh,
like, it's like, okay, couple hours, get out of there.
isn't
So
that fun?
so
I
crazy.
wonder so many people are going to be able to resonate with this. Going to the mall,
Hmm.
I have to shield my energy
Yeah.
tenfold. Remember that day I went to the mall and I was so excited. I was like, I did such an amazing shield and I'm
Yeah.
being a normal person. This is great. I'm like, is that what people do? Like,
Yeah.
people literally go to the mall and enjoy themselves. Didn't know that. Did not. I don't do it. I go
And
to,
then you come home and you're like, I think I'm gonna die.
yeah,
I'm gonna climb into bed and sleep for 3 days now.
that's wild.
Oh,
But I wonder
yeah.
what it is about the mall. Because
Maybe it's because a lot of people are in lack consciousness because they're shopping. Like a lot of people who have like money scarcity,
that's a really interesting point, Crystal.
that's a lower energy. And they're like, I don't want to say the majority of the collective because that's probably not right. But if they're even having like thoughts of, I shouldn't be buying this, or, you know, like that, like you're going to feel that for sure.
I also find the
Mm.
fluorescent lights are too
Hmm.
much for me to handle. Like the lighting in a
Yeah.
mall, like if you
And the
go,
sound.
it's just there's a
Hmm.
weird,
Hmm.
love to do a poll on this. This is so interesting.
I
I
know we should.
really should.
Yeah.
I'll put a poll up today and then
Yeah.
I'll put like a clip from this.
Yeah.
Uh, I would be so interested to know how extroverts feel about a mall. Truly, like, is there anything that repulses them, or is it just like fantastic?
Hmm. Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Are there extrovert clairsentients?
Mm.
This is so interesting. We're going down a rabbit hole now. I love
I
it.
feel I feel like yes, because like I feel like Sophia, like in Divergent, I feel like she would be that clairsentient extrovert.
But or does she just have a big personality? We're gonna have to
That's a
ask.
good. I don't know. That's a good question.
So if you're
Mm-hmm.
introverted
Mm-hmm.
and you gain energy from being with others, I mean, I guess you could potentially also pick up on other people's energy. Maybe it just doesn't drain you the same. Who knows? I don't know. I'm really curious to find out.
Yeah, it takes major practice to be able to navigate clairsentience in a way that is beneficial and not like detrimental to your energy. And it took me a long time to figure that one out. It took me a long time to get there, to be to the point where, okay, make sure you have your shields up, make sure you wearing a protection crystal or bracelet, and like you're saging and you're doing all the things. And I still, I still struggle with it
Why don't you
sometimes.
walk us through for people that, let's say there's somebody listening to this that resonates with this whole conversation and then is like, what the heck did you just talk about shielding?
Okay. So we all have a energy light body, which goes out from our human body. I think it's like 12 feet, isn't it?
I think so.
12 feet of just like energy. It looks just like a big orb. And every single soul has one. Every person on this earth has one. And depending on what frequency you're giving off, if somebody is in a lower frequency than you and your auras cross, like if they overlap, like if you cross someone in your path and they overlap, you can like, your frequency can drop and change to whatever theirs is. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yep.
So in the morning when you get up, you can visualize a big white bubble shield going around your energy body. And the white shield helps protect your energy so that if you come into contact with somebody physically or even through your phone, I have to make sure I'm shielded before I even touch my phone. It protects your energy, and then that doesn't necessarily happen, or it's not as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then sage would be like a smudge stick. You would use that if you have been in public. I would sage anyways. If I've left my house at all, I would sage. But if you notice that your energy has dipped or like your emotions feel lower, saging is a good thing to clear the energy again too.
Saging has been so helpful for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's so weird. I have such an inner skeptic,
Mm-hmm.
like such a big one. I don't know it. I have such an inner skeptic built in me, and yet I have taken this life on of believing in spirit, believing in
Mm-hmm.
energy. Like I have believe in that, and yet there's such a skeptic that's part of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for the longest time, I'm like, I'm not saging. That's stupid. Which goes so against who I am, because it's like I have these two parts
Like
to,
alter egos.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
bizarre. It's really bizarre. Especially like just with who I surround myself with. Like I would always surround myself with people who are spiritual, and it's so important to me. And yet there's like this major critic that's like, that doesn't work. That's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So I resisted saging for so long because I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. And even there'll be some
Mm-hmm.
times now where I'm like, oh, like who, you don't need to sage, you're fine. Like that does that doesn't do anything anyway, Morgan. Like there's this part of me and I'm like, and sometimes I believe it. I'm like, oh, okay, and then I pay for it. I do.
And then you sage and you're like, wow, I feel so much lighter
Yeah,
every time.
every time.
Yeah.
And when I say to you, I'm like, well, I haven't saged. You're like, Morgan, what?
Yeah. Or I'm like, do you have your shields up? Make sure you have your shields up. I take my shield off before I go to bed. When I'm safe in my room, then I take my shield down. And sometimes, like, let's say I'm in the city,
Oh,
I'm in the city. I will
staying up
place a,
for,
yeah, I will place a new shield midday because they do weaken.
yeah. So
Yeah.
how long do shields last?
I don't know, Victoria, and she is our mentor. She told me that they weaken and like I would say like 5, 6 hours.
Okay. Okay. So
How
yeah,
long was your shield on when you were traveling?
well, I asked, so for people again that don't know,
Mm.
or if you are familiar with this, with
Mhm.
shielding. So I was traveling for 20 hours.
Mhm.
And even to say that, I'm like stressed out. But it I
Takes you right back there.
yeah, I asked for my shield to stay on for the full 20 hours, and I don't think I reshielded.
Yeah. And it would have stayed on. It's just the potency of it would have weakened. So it's not like you didn't have any shield on. It's just like things can still pass through or weaken.
Let's talk about traveling for
Okay.
for an introvert and for people who are clairsentient, because my God, I don't know if this is how all of humanity feels about traveling. I would love to know again. But for an introvert and for somebody who can pick up on other people's energy, I will say traveling is like a personal hell. Like
Hmm.
it has made me not want to go anywhere ever again after me traveling to Spain and having our plane delayed 4 hours each time. It has literally made me not want to travel anymore.
Maybe travel for you is better broken up.
Like what?
Like, let's say you decided you're gonna go to Hawaii
Okay.
and you had to like touch down somewhere and like switch planes. Maybe that looks like you spend the night in that place or like another full day and you like take a gap before you hop on a plane and do like the next leg of your journey.
I was thinking that like maybe I am the type of person that needs like layovers.
Yeah.
No, it's like longer, but then it's not just dedicated to traveling.
Yeah. You're not like stuck on an airplane or in an airport where you can't go outside and breathe fresh air. Like you cannot sage in the airport.
Well, I guess you could.
Can
I,
you with a lighter? Would they let you?
I don't know. I put my lighter in my knapsack. Can you bring a lighter? I don't think no, you're right. But you could probably buy a lighter in an airport, and then I always have my sage in my knapsack, so I could just
Just light the lighter in the bathroom and then the uh the showers come on and the alarms start going and they think you're smoking in there. You can actually get aura cleansing sprays that work really good too. Or like essential oils are really good.
oh, what is traveling like for you?
I love travel. I
You
do.
wait, so you're telling me you enjoy getting on an airplane?
I love flying, like more than driving, because I get there quicker. And if it I mean, I'm gonna pick a place that I'm excited about, you know?
Okay.
So I don't know that I would want to do the 20-hour Spain leg that you did unless I was flying first class.
That's different. If I was flying laying down first class, I'm sure I would have a completely different story to tell you today.
And maybe like who you're going with makes a difference too. You
Yes.
know? Like if you're going with like a really good friend or like a partner, like that
Yeah.
would be exciting. When
Yeah.
I took my kids to Mexico, we had such a fun time. It was so good.
I still though, even traveling with friends and partners in the past, like I still do find the travel hard.
Yeah.
It's hard on my energy body.
Hmm.
You know?
I agree.
It is
It's
hard.
trying. Yep.
It is definitely trying.
Yep.
And what I did, so if there are people that are traveling and who need tips, what I did was I had my shield up and then I also had my earbuds in and I was listening to like high frequency music. I was listening to a friend of ours healing transmissions on
Hmm.
the flight, like on repeat, which were infused with energy healing. And I found that to be helpful, like blocking out my hearing and then
Hmm.
focusing either on reading or sleeping was the most helpful for my energy. It's like the least amount of stimuli um,
Hmm.
for my introvert and for my clairsentience was like the best way to go.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I'm the same. I sometimes I watch a movie.
Yes.
Same thing though, earbuds. It kind of like gets my mind off things.
Yep.
And I find that that's super helpful. And then obviously wherever you're going, if you can get outside as quickly as possible and even just breathe fresh air, or whatever it is, that's always beneficial too. Drinking lots of water.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that so if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh God, definitely am an introvert. I had no idea." What are some ways that we can replenish the introvert and
Hmm.
then also balance like being an introvert, having, let's say we have, like you have a larger family than I do. Like, how
Hmm.
do you balance replenishing yourself to like fill up your own energy, and then balance being around people like versus being around yourself?
Okay, well, that's a really good question. In my daily life, what I find is I don't try to cram everything in one day. I'll spread it out.
Mhm.
Like if I have errands to do, I try to like, okay, I'll do some Monday and then I'll do some Wednesday, maybe I'll do some Friday and then take Tuesday, Thursday off. That feels really good. If I'm making a family commitment, because I do have a huge family, my entire family lives here.
Mhm.
Um, I'll make sure that there's no plans around that date or I don't make any plans to make sure that I have like the day before, excuse me, off and then the day after off so that there's like integration. Sometimes I just say no. Like there's two barbecues coming up in June for grad and I said yes to one and I said no to the other because, you know, boundaries.
Yep.
What about you?
I fill up my own cup by, so exercise is really important to me. And
Mhm,
I would say walking with my dog in the forest is,
mhm,
I would say that is key, and resting. And when I say
mhm,
like resting, I don't necessarily mean sleep, but I mean like lying on my couch or lying in my bed, reading, just taking me time. Also, cooking is something that really gets me, even though that's a chore, it like helps me replenish myself.
mhm.
So those things, and I really could live doing those things all the time and be completely happy. You
Me
know,
too.
really, it's funny. So I have to like, how do I balance people? Well, it's funny, I live alone and I don't have like a huge group of friends.
Mhm.
So I would say I don't really need to balance, right? Like
Yep.
I'll just say no if I
Mhm,
don't want to do something. Like if I'm asked
mhm,
to do something and I don't have, like you said in the beginning, those coins, I just am like, I'm not going. I've had to
mhm,
like really thoroughly explain to people, I'm an introvert. I get drained very easily. I am not a social butterfly. And
mhm,
it doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean like we're not friends. It doesn't mean anything. It just means like I don't have the capacity to be out and about and doing the barbecues all summer and having fires and hanging with these people and these people. And I just,
Yep.
it just like literally makes me feel like shit.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
And
I was always the one that was famous for canceling plans, and I still can do that because this is why I try to not make plans too, is because I don't know how I'm gonna feel that day. You know, like I don't know what kind of week I've had leading up to it and like what's it gonna look like. Like in July, I have so many plans, but every single one is like exciting for me.
right,
It's like with people that I love being around, and it's like Bella has a horse weekend, and that's super fun, and like I'm excited for it, but like sometimes it's just like, it's like a give or take, and then I'll just see how I feel that day, and we'll go from there. And sometimes that looks like canceling.
yeah, it's it is not it's not like super ideal to have
Hmm.
to be, introverted, but it is what it is, right? And we have to
Yep.
respect our own boundaries and understand like we're totally fine being hermits at home. Like
Yep.
my ideal life looks like me and a partner at home, like cooking or traveling together or like, but like not needing to be doing something constantly, like, or just me up by myself. Like I'm totally, totally fine with it. I've
Yep.
become very comfortable alone, very
Hmm.
like it can be lonely, but you learn how to rely on yourself.
Hmm. It's so true. I remember when I was young, I thought to myself, I can't wait to have kids because then I'll never be alone. I didn't like the idea of having to be alone.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until, deep into motherhood and marriage where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get alone time. Right? I'm just like, I need it. And so then it started becoming a priority. And then when my marriage ended, I had like nothing but alone time, but it has been the best thing for me because I've like really gotten to know who I am
Yeah.
and like why I am the way that I am. And oh, I've been an introvert my entire life and I didn't even know. It's
I have
interesting how that
I have a
goes.
really interesting question for you. So
Yeah.
I don't have kids, and I
Mhm.
often think about, could I have kids being an introvert? I often like really get worried about that.
Mhm.
How do you navigate being introverted having children? Does it give you the same um like does it drain you the same as other people do?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it can be trying at times because their needs are always your need. Like you're the one to meet their needs most of the time. As they get older, it gets a little bit less on that end. But like Bella is also an introvert
Hmm.
and Caden is an extrovert. And I mean, he's kind of both. He's kind of both because he likes his like chill time, but he also really loves seeing his friends. Like I don't know what Caden is actually, but it's different. It's not, it's like your pets. Like your pets don't drain you, you
Oh,
know?
yep.
It's like it's just part of your life. It's just part of who you are and um you always want them around.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like the
It's
advice
not like
you have to parents where you're
no.
like, get away from me.
No. I
Okay.
mean, there's times it depends on what you're moving through because if you're having like a really hard day, taking care of other people is draining.
Mhm.
But it's not like a like get out of my face feeling. It's like, okay, like what do you need so that I can take time for myself so I can meet my own needs kind of thing.
Okay.
When you first have a newborn, I mean, that can be the space where it's like you don't get a waking moment. So I don't know. It's both.
I feel like I get a bit anxious the thought of having children. Like it makes me very nervous.
Hmm.
Like, could I do it? What happens if
Yeah, you could. It would be probably one of the best things that ever happened to you because you love that person more than you love yourself. It's like it is like an instant, unconditional, like almost like a moment like I grew this human inside my body. And they're like half of me. And it's like having your heart on the outside of you. That's what it feels like.
wow. When you say it like that, that sounds really precious.
Yeah. And like if it was not like that, nobody would have more than one.
That's a good point.
Right? You'd be like, no, I'm not doing that again. And then you do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think Crystal and I are going to make this podcast a little shorter today. We both have been feeling not our best. I don't know if anybody else is feeling this week.
Hmm.
We are recording this episode on May 20th, and this episode does um, come out tomorrow. So this
Yeah.
conversation will be relevant for people
Yeah.
listening. Lately, the solar flares have been so intense. The
Yeah.
astrology has been so intense. This is supposed to be on Saturday was the luckiest day of the year.
Yeah.
Although it was like the astrology, it was like in alignment and was perfect for everything being so lucky. But my understanding was if you don't have everything in alignment in your life, like things are gonna like be forced to allow you to bring that luck into your life. Like if there's things
Hmm.
that you are doing that are not in alignment with you, they gotta go. And I think
Mm.
the update also.
I was gonna say I that is exactly what I channeled for the energy. Where
Yep.
they said basically like the carpet's gonna be ripped out from underneath your feet.
But
And
I
so if you're not
like
comfortable
I
in
cannot.
change, you're
Pardon?
like, I'm done.
I was like, I am
I'm done.
done. No, like I please cancel me.
I feel like you're living your highest aligned timeline currently.
I am.
Yeah, so you should be good. And the people who are living their highest aligned timeline probably won't notice anything, like anything changing or anything, and they may even like experience more synchronicities is what my guides told me, and also like even like a big manifestation could take place this week. But the people who are not living their highest aligned timeline, they may go through like a little bit of a shitstorm. So like reaching out for support, either myself or Morgan, we both have one-on-one sessions, so that would be like really supportive for that.
Okay, well, yeah, so Crystal and I, the energy has been super intense. We're both,
Mm-hmm.
I got back from Spain and I got really, really sick with
Mm-hmm.
like stomach stuff. I don't know what it is, but Crystal is also experiencing
Yeah, today.
stomach. Well, it was even yesterday, you said.
Yeah, like I'm experiencing food aversion. Like I don't feel hungry. I know I should eat something, and it's like I can never pick what it is that I'm eating. So I'm sticking with like fruit and smoothies and yogurt because that's the only thing that really works right now.
I'm just nauseous and I was not well. And so yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
energy is like quite dipped. I've spent
Mm,
a lot of time resting and I'm
still not 100%.
still not 100%. So
Yeah, I'm sipping ginger kombucha, hoping that that helps. One more question though.
yes.
What does it mean to you today to have an empowered heart?
Hmm. I think I'm still really on trust. I'm really practicing. I'm in
Mm,
a transition in my life, and I think it's trusting to believe in myself. You
mm,
know, that's
mhm,
something that I discovered this past week was something that I've been scared to do in the past because I've learned through life that I'm really good at making miracles out of a dumpster fire.
mhm,
So like out of the shittiest situations of life, that's where I've ended up thriving. And so
mhm,
I have this fear that that's the only way that life is supposed to be for me. And so
mhm,
trusting that there is more for me out there and that I can believe in
mhm.
myself and follow my heart. So
Yeah.
a trust and belief, believing in.
Mm,
What about
mm.
you? What does it mean to you to have an empowered heart today or in this point in your life?
I've been really practicing a state of surrender.
Hmm.
Um, so that would probably fall in the same category as you with trust and just knowing that the visions that I have are happening,
Right.
and I don't really need to do anything different in order for those pieces to fall into place. I just have to kind of like let go um and just trust that I'm on the right path. I don't feel like I need confirmation. It's more like a feeling. It's like this feels good and this feels right, and so yes, this is right for me, and just surrendering to the outcome and the timing.
Yeah,
So surrender, I think, for me would be the biggest piece right now.
I love that. And
Yeah.
also, it is Gracie's birthday today, so everyone
Yeah.
wish Gracie a happy birthday. She's
Happy birthday. How old is she? 6?
7 today.
7.
7.
She looks excited.
Yeah, well, she's been for a walk today already, and she's out, but it's 30 degrees out, so
It's too hot.
it's too hot. She's had it.
I wish we had 30 degrees. It's like cloudy and plus 11.
Oh,
It's
really?
an inside day though. It feels good. We already went for our walk, so the rest of the day is going to be an inside day.
This is the first May 2-4 long weekend here in Canada. We have today as a holiday that
Yeah.
has not rained here. It has rained,
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, every May 2-4 long weekend. This is bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot and beautiful out, so.
We got hail, rain, wind, sun. Yeah, we got it all.
Okay, guys, well, until next time, thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you soon.
Love you.
Love you.